White people, how do you feel about the segregation ban? I already know how people of color feel in other minorities, but what about y'all? How do you feel about this? Like, are you happy? I know that's kind of like a setup, huh? Because if you're all like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, we found him. But no, I'm like curious, like, because I mean, it doesn't really affect y'all unless you have like a partner or something like that, or kids who are obviously people of color. Other than that, just straight up white people, no relations to any people of color. How do you feel about this? Are you just like, damn, that's crazy for you? I mean, are you shocked? Like, I'm laughing because me and my people, we've already been through shit. So it's like, at the end of the day, I have faith that we will be okay. I guess for the Karens and the Kevins out there, it's like good. That way you don't have to be mad at any black person or other person of color coming in your territory and questioning them. You get to just chill and deal with your own people.
Okay, so segregated facilities are no longer explicitly banned. Let's get ahead of this. Let's make a safe space for everybody. No MAGA. There's the drinking fountain for MAGA. There's the portion of the restaurant for MAGA.
They're rolling back segregation. They are rolling back segregation. It is now no longer illegal to require separate facilities for people of different races. It is no longer illegal to say, here's the white water fountain and here's the colored water fountain. To be clear, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is still in place and has not been disbanded. But we know what their goal is. There is always step one in a process, and we absolutely know what their goal is. They are rolling back segregation. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because this time, white people, we are the ones that are going to be on the front crossing that bridge. Do you hear me? We are the ones that are going to stand in the streets. Our black countrymen have done their time at the front of the lines, and it is our turn. It is our turn to face the water hoses and to face the dogs and to face the tear gas, because we have let this happen. Not on my watch. Not while there is breath in me will we go back. Is anybody out there with me? Go love your neighbor.
Last 2 days, I made a video that was titled Black People Reacting to Trump Bring Back Segregation. In the video, many black folks, in fact, most of the black folks, were saying that they support the idea of bringing back segregation, even though it's not all of them. And since then, I've been asking myself, what do palm-colored men, palm-colored women think about the idea of bringing back segregation? Do they also support it? Do they want it back? Or they are against it? And that's why today white folks will be giving their own opinions about the idea of bringing back segregation. I want you guys to watch this video from the beginning to the end, and as always, in order to support me, hit that like button. Let's get into it.
By Trump signing this executive order, he is making it loud and clear that the federal government does not intend to do their part in enforcement or investigation. Effectively, what he's done is made it known to businesses that they don't need to abide by the Civil Rights Act because the government won't enforce it. Several federal agencies, like the Department of Homeland Security and the National Institute of Health, have already begun issuing notices to employees advising them not to consider the prior ban on segregation going forward. While this is only one of the countless attacks on DEI that Trump has made, the potential impacts of this order are vast and frightening, especially considering the history our country has with segregation.
It is we, the white people, who have to be at the front of the lines this time. It is we that have to go out and fight this battle. And you guys don't need to come into the street, because we know this is calculated to get you out there. We know, just like when they said they were going to pardon the man that stood on Mr. Floyd, that was intentionally calculated to get you out, because they want to unalive whole populations of people, and you and I both know you are very high on that list. I know you don't know me, and I know you have no reason to trust me, but I have children who look more like you than they look like me. So I have skin in the game. And last week, I was in D.C. with my biracial daughter and her very dark-skinned boyfriend. And when I went out and marched and argued with people and went to Congress and did all of the things that I could do there, I made them stay back. I made them stay back at the hotel because history shows that I will be treated differently than they will. And it's not that we all don't have a part to do in this. It's just that our roles are different, and you've got to stay home because it's absolutely what they want is to get you into the streets. But that doesn't mean there aren't things you can do. You know, if you are a person of faith, then you know that this battle is not just flesh and blood, but powers and principalities, and there's a spiritual realm thing going on. Man, you can do some of the most important fighting from your home, and that is in the spiritual realm. That there are other things, you know, knowing that we know that you have to stay home, and you know that we have to go out. This is how I hope our future will be different, because we now can show you there are some of us who are not like the rest. There are some of us who believe that a person should be judged on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. That great dream is a dream for me too, for my children and for yours. But please stay home. Please don't come out in the streets. This one's on us, and we got you.
For saying this, but I think white people need segregation. We need segregation to learn a lesson. There are far too many white people who think like, oh, it's okay, we roll back DEI, everybody will be fine. Like, I see that you're cool, you see that I'm cool. No. And thanks to the Trump administration, they've rolled back a lot of segregation laws. So, I mean, not that they ever tore down the original separate water fountains. They're just going to put the sign up once again that says blacks only. There are a lot of people who think if segregation comes back, it will be to their advantage. It will be to such the disadvantage of white population. And frankly, I think it's going to be good. There was a white woman who went into some bar the other day and she filmed it. Wearing a MAGA hat, she walked into a bar and like automatically the owner of the bar was like, get the out of my bar. You can't deny me service. No, your kind went to the Supreme Court to ensure that I can deny you service. Your beliefs are not my beliefs. Get the hell out of my bar. But I voted for MAGA and I'm white. You can't deny me. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we absolutely can. And she's filming it. And you can almost hear in her voice, she's absolutely sure she's going to post this video and she's going to become instantly famous. How dare this bar deny her? And instead the comments were like, know your place. That is not your space. The last time there was segregation, minorities couldn't go into white spaces, but white people went into minority spaces. There's always some stereotypical photo of like some socialite from Fifth Avenue up in the Harlem in the jazz clubs being like, oh, I'm mixing with the cool people and smoking the funny cigarettes. And then, inevitably she marries a Vanderbilt and, settles down and remembers her side of the town. I think if this time segregation comes back, segregation should be to keep the white people out. It would be good for minority culture, but it would be outstanding for white culture to finally understand, really get the point. No, we're gatekeeping. Hairstyles and food and flavor and music and culture, all of this is ours. Not for you. Kardashians can't no, these are Albanian box braids. It's our culture. It is not, frankly. As much as it will not benefit me, I think it would be to the benefit of white people to feel segregation, to go through segregation for, let's start with 300 years. That seems like the right number. Then we'll check in to see how they're doing and maybe start some other new version, DEI 2.0. As a matter of fact, in white culture, white women should probably make their own group too. There can be MAGA, white women, minority, separate, not equal, and definitely learning some lessons. Grow with love. Is we're definitely in this phase that until it affects me, I don't care about it, but that's short term. Because, you give me back my Social Security, I'm no longer interested in everybody else's struggle. To long term deny white people everything they feel entitled to, I think it's long past time for that lesson to be taught. And yeah, it's going to be super hard keeping white people out. You saw how many struggled with the blue bracelet idea. I admit I'm not going to like it, but I think it would be to the benefit of all.
Okay, I know we're all kind of laughing about this idea of segregation coming back, and white people are jumping ship left and right. Like, please let me be on the side of Beyonce and Jasmine Crockett and Barack Obama. I don't want to have nothing to do with Carrie Underwood and Kid Rock, right? Leave me out of it. So yeah, that's funny to sort of joke about, but segregation is not funny. It was more than just entertainment and which restaurant you could use and which water fountain you could use and whether or not you were allowed to use the public pool. Like, it affected so many other systemic things: education, access to property ownership, banking. Like, it was really deeply bad.
Trump is racist no longer matters because his policies reveal deep racist sentiments and create codified racism. And now Donald Trump has repealed LBJ's executive order barring racial segregation. Donald Trump is bringing back segregation. And regardless of whether or not you think that in his heart he is racist, he has continued to embolden racist, white supremacists, and codify racial segregation. That is a problem that we haven't seen in over 50 years. He is inflaming racial sentiments. He is instigating white supremacist and Christian nationalists. So whether or not Donald Trump himself is racist no longer matters, because he is the first president to reinstitute segregation federally in over 50 years.
Hey, Trump just legalized segregation again.
Nope.
Segregation was banned and he just legalized it within the federal government.
Not true.
Like, dead ass, like, black water fountains, white water fountains were just legalized.
The farthest thing from the truth you could possibly even say.
MAGA, defend this. I know you will.
Can't defend it because everything you said was a lie. It was fake. Not true at all. Because all of that is protected under the Civil Rights Act. It is illegal. 100% illegal across the entirety of the United States, including the federal government, which cannot change with an executive order or a general service memo, which is what this was. The only thing this general service memo did was change the requirements of federal contractors to not have to report that they are abiding by the law. It was completely redundant, pointless, and a waste of time and paperwork. Nothing more, nothing less. Because again, by law, they cannot do any of that. Quit lying to people.
Some white people are shocked, some are ready to protest, and some are saying maybe white folks need to experience segregation for themselves to understand how bad it is. Now, I'm not American, but even from the outside looking in, this is wild. In most parts of the world, people see segregation as something from the history, something that should never come back. But here we are, with people debating it like some new policy idea. One of the most interesting things in these TikToks is how white people are reacting. They are saying, it's our turn to fight. We have to be the ones in the street now. And we just have to ask, where was this energy before? Black people have been protesting for years about racism, discrimination, and injustice. But now, white folks are realizing that segregation might affect them too. And suddenly, it is an emergency. Let's also be honest. When black people protest, they get attacked, arrested, and called thugs. But when white people protest, it is seen as patriotism or defending freedom. So if these white people choose to protest, will they face this tear gas and police brutality the way black protesters have in the past? Or maybe they will be treated differently. Now let's talk about the second woman, the one who got really emotional, saying that white people should be the ones protesting this time. She was basically crying, talking about how she doesn't want black people to have to go through this again. Now, on one hand, I get it. She sees what's happening and feels guilty. She wants to prove that not all white people support this. But at the same time, it felt, I don't know, a little performative. Like, it felt like she wanted black people to see her as one of the good ones. I mean, black folks have been fighting against racism forever. If she really cared, why is she only speaking up now? And notice how she's telling black people, stay home, let us handle this. But the truth is, the only reason she even understands the problem is because black people have been fighting it for so long. So I don't think white people need white saviors. What they need is for white people to stop ignoring racism until it affects them personally. If she's really serious about this fight, then she should focus on educating other white people instead of making emotional speeches on TikTok. One of the TikTokers made a really good point. Some white people think that segregation will help them, but in reality, it is going to hurt them too. Some white folks believe that if America goes back to segregation, they will get some kind of whites-only paradise. But that's not how this works. Segregation was never about making things equal. It was always about giving white elites more power while keeping everyone else down, even including poor white people. Think about it. Do you really think rich white politicians care about middle class and poor white families? No, they only care about keeping power. They will use racism to divide people, but at the end of the day, they are still going to take resources away from the working class white folks too. So yeah, segregation coming back would be bad for everyone, not just black and brown people. Some white folks are finally starting to realize that. Now, let us be clear. Trump did not officially bring back segregation. But what he did do is to sign something that weakens protections against it. So basically, he's telling businesses, you don't have to follow anti-discrimination laws, and we are not going to stop you. So even though segregation is technically still illegal, he's making it easier for racist companies and institutions to do whatever they want. And this part is a bigger pattern. First, they got rid of DEI programs. Then they started attacking voting rights. Now they're testing segregation again. If people don't push back now, what's next? Another TikTok that stood out was the one where the woman said, some white people are realizing they've made a mistake. And honestly, yeah, some of them are panicking because they didn't think Trump policies would affect them too. A lot of these people ignored racism for years. They laughed at the woke-up culture. They said Black Lives Matter was too much. But now when segregation might impact them, suddenly they are worried. And let's be real, some of these same people voted for Trump think that he would only target minorities. But now that his policies are affecting everyone, they are freaking out. It's like they finally realized, oh wait, maybe I made a mistake. Well, that's what happens when you don't pay attention to history. At the end of the day, segregation is not a joke. It's not just about water fountains or separate restaurants. It affects jobs, housing, education, and people's basic rights. Trump and his people know exactly what they are doing. They are testing the waters, seeing how far they can push things. If people don't stand up now, what comes next? I'm just asking you. To the white folks who are finally realizing how bad this is, good. But don't just talk about it. Do something. Speak out. Vote and challenge the people who support this nonsense. Because if you thought racism was only a problem for minorities, you're about to find out the hard way. It can come for you too. And this is it for today. Please make sure you liked the video and subscribe for more interesting content like this one. And this is Mr. TA. God bless.